ladies and gentlemen, the mega rift. Now, you've got Nick Fuentes calling out Candace Owens. The story is that Turning Point USA issued a rebuttal to everything Candace says. Likely, this was triggered by Candace calling on people to ask for refunds of their donations to Turning Point USA, which is probably apocalyptic for Turning Point USA and can very much destroy Turning Point. They apparently offered for her to come on the show. She agreed. And then when they said, okay, here's where we're doing it, she responded with, kind of weird how you didn't email or call me to ask about times or availability, and chose instead to tweet this confirmation out at midnight. Nick Fuentes responds, you were invited to Turning Point USA HQ to press their leadership live and in person about their role in Charlie Kirk's murder, but you can't go because of a scheduling conflict. LOL. Isn't this what you've been pushing for since September? Time to put up or shut up. Candace says, you spent over a year attacking me on your show. I finally said, okay, come on my show. You responded and said Wednesday worked better for your schedule. Stop being a fraud. If I'd instead publicly tweeted Nick refused to debate, I would have been disingenuous. Nick said, you said TPUSA could pick the time and place they did. You've been milking your investigation for 3 months. Now is your opportunity to blow the lid on everything, and you're going to no-show. What could possibly be the excuse? You owe it to your fans. The excuse is she was always lying, right? One of the things that Turning Point brought up was that early on in her investigation, she made a point about men in maroon shirts and then dropped that and moved on and never brought it back up. Or Egyptian planes flying around, which is never proven. She then made claims that these planes were landing at airports where federal vehicles were driving to a law office, and she vetted the person but never proved anything about what these planes were actually doing. Then it turns out her own lawyers are working in the same building as the feds. But people love the drama, the true crime, and the mystery. You know what she's really done? She has turned news podcasting into Lost. Always end your show on a cliffhanger, never resolve it, and keep people hooked. It is the mystery box of podcasts. And now that she's given the opportunity to go and put the nail in the coffin, she can't do it.
So she's J.J. Abrams?
I guess. What did he do?
Created Lost.
No, but I mean, did he actually write it and plan it out or what?
He's famous for the mystery box.
Yeah. So why not now finally go and confront them about all of these things?
Well, she's got an hour-long show to record for her fans to have them guess. I'm just kidding. You know, there's no freaking way.
Mystery Box Podcast.
Yeah, she spent months going after this story, and she can't take a couple hours of her day to miss one tiny show to go and actually confront these people in person like she wants to do, like she says she's going to do.
I'm sure that they'd allow her to co-stream it, stream to her people as well as theirs. And look, she's made enough allusions to accusations that this should be the opportunity for her to, go and clear all this up and, find the bad guys or point at the bad guys. I think that this kind of speaks to the fact that it is kind of just a bunch of isn't this strange? Isn't this odd? She does a lot of pointing and saying, look, but there's no substance there. And I think if there was substance, she would be, jumping at this opportunity.
Indeed. And that was kind of the point that Turning Point made when they were like, she keeps abandoning key points of this investigation and then never coming back to it. It's been 3 months. Even now, Nick Fuentes pointing it out. What's happening on the right seems to be maybe Candace is intentionally playing the heel to unite everyone against her. It's like the weirdest thing now because
selfless, right? Selfless.
I have check this out. Since she started doing this arc, our PR people have been getting inundated by mainstream media reporters. They've been texting me like crazy. They're asking us to give our. It's the weirdest thing ever that all of a sudden the corporate press is like, we're interested in this rift. We want more press on it. And I'm like, is the point to just get all of the regular conservatives to find their villain?
So she's not J.J. Abrams. She's Vince McMahon during the Stone Cold Steve Austin era of WWE.
Yes.
I have no idea what that means.
I do. You're right. It is.
Okay, that's awesome.
Tim, you should make a poll for the chat. Nick Fuentes or Candace Owens.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Nick Fuentes or Candace Owens.
So we did a poll, and I said Brian Cole is the bomber or no way, it's a cover-up. And cover-up won with 53% to 47% that Cole is the bomber.
It's pretty even.
It's pretty split. Let's do a new poll. Let's get it.
Nick Fuentes. Whose side are you on, chat?
Nick Fuentes
We know.
or Candace Owens. I mean, it's interesting because I honestly have no idea how this one's going to play out.
I don't know. They generally like both of them.
Yes.
The chat seems to be very pro.
You know, this is the issue I take with this stupid debate about like Tucker and Nick and these TradCon people who are like, I don't want to work with Nick. He's moderated on so many issues.
Yeah.
And he's even admitted this. Now he's doing more press shows. He's acknowledged that being abrasive and trolly and that has been bad for him. And now he's, I guess, getting older and realizing
It happens.
that, how to effectively grow and expand his opportunity. Nick Fuentes is 80%. Wow.
Crushing.
Well,
Wow.
Nick called her out pretty good here. I seen him on Steven Crowder today, and it was a pretty.
Was he also calling her out?
They got into it themselves. It was a little call out, but it wasn't a big call out.
We're still waiting for Nick to come on this show.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get him on.
Well, I mean, he was scheduled and then he canceled on
Are
us.
we doing culture war with Nick or
No,
a show?
IRL.
Okay,
Yeah.
that'd be fun.
Yeah. He didn't want to come on.
Come on, Nick.
He said he had a scheduling thing happen. I said, okay, whatever, do your thing, I guess.
How much time did you have to spend watching the Candace shows to like? Because the
yeah.
thing is like with all of this type of drama, like once you can miss one day and you're completely lost about anything that's going on because there's so much lore behind all of this stuff. Like I immediately disengage because I don't want to go back through and listen to 8,000 threads of people arguing about this stuff. I just don't care. Like I just don't.
There's always going to be a challenge. If you're trying to be honest in media, you're never going to succeed. I shouldn't say that. You're going to have a hard go of it. I think there's a reason why Steven Crowder has maintained such strong viewership while many others have faltered. And I think it's because he generally does his thing, believes in himself, focuses on his message and mission, stays true.
Yep.
But there are a lot of people who are substantially more successful or who, come and go. Like Candace being a really great example of a meteoric rise through, I don't know, like unscrupulous manipulation. If you are going to, it's a hard thing to do. Politicians, you're never going to get elected if you're actually telling people the truth. It's just not going to happen. Imagine a politician running for Congress being like, guys, Social Security will be insolvent by 2034, and we don't have the population size to actually pay into it to keep it at current levels. That means that only what goes into it will come out, so we expect a drop of around 30%. This means your checks will diminish. However, there are a couple solutions. Because the younger generation isn't large enough to pay the taxes on this, we could increase taxes on Gen Z, and that'll make it so that we can increase the payouts. Or we can bring in as many migrants as possible in whatever way we can so that we can bring in more working individuals into the tax base. And then everyone gets mad. They want you to come and just say, I will fix Social Security.
I'm going to fight for it.
I'm going to fight for you and your Social Security and your Medicaid. And they go, okay, that's all that mattered to me. And what does that even mean to fight for it?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean
at all.
anything.
Nothing.
It's hope and change. It's the same exact thing.
So what I love about like Candace's show is the easiest example is that guy Wolves in Finance, where he was like, why are they giving money to a parking lot? And it's like, man, if your reading comprehension is third grade, you fall for this stuff.
Again, like I looked through one thread last night about the Candace stuff, and it was somebody saying like, I think they want to get her in the studio so they can scope out her security. Like, I was like, bro, I have to go. I just signed off my phone. I'm like, I don't have it in me to read this stuff. Like, I don't know if there are turning point assassins, but if that is a thing, then God help us all.
Well, she did it to us. And I'm not surprised here. I take that back. I'm actually surprised she even responded twice now. Even had me on her show. Look at that. But, if your show is about drama and you need some drama, then, she'll take what she can get. But when we were talking about her making $10 million per year on this show, someone took that clip, cut out the part where I explicitly stated she has a large audience because, it's appealing to a wider base and that she has a lot of female viewers. They cut that out. Lied and claimed we said that she was botting her audience and it was all fake. She then reposts it And this is the game. This is, so the challenge that I think we have in whatever space we occupy is scruples. I'm not going to lie about Candace for the sake of getting views, but there's a tremendous opportunity right now. Because Candace wants to play this conspiracy dark world game, we could absolutely play back because she's brought us into her world. She had me, I ranted against her, and then I had the media blowing my phone up trying to talk to me about it. And I called her a scumbag. She had me on her show today.
Oh, yeah?
Showing the clip, which gives us a tremendous opportunity that if we played the same game as her, I could leak text messages, the things I've heard about Candace Owens. But my view of her is largely that she's unscrupulous and willing to manipulate intentionally for money. Based on the messages I've seen from her, I could accuse her of killing Charlie Kirk. I'm not even exaggerating. The messages that I've seen of Candace could easily be misconstrued to say that she had the biggest reason to murder Charlie because he ousted her from Turning Point. And she wants revenge, but she didn't know how to go up against Charlie. But I don't actually believe that. I don't think that's the case at all. I think she obviously was mad over a lot of things. I think she loved Charlie. I think she was in love with him. And now she wants to burn down Turning Point because she's, what do they call it? Second wife syndrome? She's the jilted lover who is friend-zoned, who is Charlie Kirk's wingman, who had that romantic text exchange with him that she was showing off, and now she wants to burn everything down in revenge. That's what I really think. There have been people who have made the joke that you could easily take statements she's made and insinuate she had Charlie murdered, and statements from people at Turning Point about how they feared Candace and what she was going to do. So let me put it like this. After Candace was ousted from Turning Point, she was no longer a speaker at, I think it was the end of 23. I'm not entirely sure. She remained friends with Charlie, but stopped doing events with Turning Point. And some people have argued it's because of her stance on Israel. I don't know if that's the case. But there are people at Turning Point expressing fear over what Candace would do to them if they actually ever got into a drama bit with her over her being ousted. And so they needed to keep her close, but not too far. Some of these emails and these statements, you could easily be like, this proves Candace was trying to kill Charlie the whole time, because it's all vague murder mystery garbage. The question is, who's really going to believe it? I don't know. But that's exactly what she does. One example is like the Mikey McCoy thing. He got on his phone right after Charlie was shot. That proves it. And it's like, it literally means nothing. We have no idea what it means. She's insinuated that they denied Charlie first aid, that it was an inside job, all of this crazy nonsense, because it is lost. It's like, what big show do we have? You know what she's really good at? She basically figured out how to make that Game of Thrones herself. Very, very, very well done. And if you are unscrupulous and your biggest concern is how many live viewers you have, then you will be Candace Owens and you will brag about it. Good for her, I guess. I think she's evil. I think she's scummy, but that's why I look at the success she has, why I called it demoralizing, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Because we are trying to build a coalition to save this country. She's trying to build a coalition so she can make money and sell ads. And she's effectively destroying the political coalition that wants to see a victory, to stave off this crazy immigration crisis, to help Gen Z and the working class buy homes and bring prices down. Her thing is just vagary after vagary, distraction, and burn down the one organization that actually unified various political factions to help Donald Trump win the election. Maybe she's been with the Democrats the whole time, and that's why her lawyers work with the feds.
Well, I mean, she was a Democrat before, so.
I'm starting to think that she has lost all sensitivity to what is ethical at this point to promote on her show, because all the conspiracy theories that she's pulling out, maybe there's some validity, a fraction of validity to something that she has said at some point, but now she's drowning everything in so many allegations, accusations that just do not make any sense whatsoever. So there's nothing that is believable anymore. And I don't even know if she understands the kind of impact that she's having. And I think maybe you think that she's fully aware of it and that she knows exactly what she's doing. That
she's very smart.
Generally, okay. I do think that she's very smart for sure. Otherwise, she wouldn't have this great show. Great in the sense that she has a lot of viewers, obviously. But at the same time, I think she has become completely insensitive to how people are perceiving her. I think she just thinks that she's this... Yeah, she is the ideal, the queen behind what she's promoting, and she doesn't quite take in what kind of impact it has on her viewers, but also what kind of impact it has on Charlie and the family and the legacy that he left behind, because I don't think that Charlie would have wanted any of this.
That's part of why.
Oh, I mean, I completely agree. I think the idea that Charlie would want her to advocate everyone pull their donations from the organization he built.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
No one hates Charlie more than Candace Owens. Let me say that very, very clearly. I want to say it straight to the camera for all of her biggest fans, and then she can grab this clip and put it on her show. I do think it's absolutely hilarious that we're a substantially smaller show than hers, but she brought us up anyway. So thanks for saying my name, Candace. No one hated Charlie Kirk more than Candace Owens. She reviles him, she spits on his grave, and she smiles while doing it. Okay, quote over. And I'll say this because Charlie spent his life building out these organizations. Candace is doing everything in her power to tear them down. She hates Charlie. She hates what Charlie built, and she wants it to burn. She hates Charlie's family. She hates Charlie's friends. She's accused them of killing him. She's accused his wife of having knowledge of these events. And then she comes out and says, I never said that. Not in the literal sense, but there's literally no other logical conclusion to what you're saying. So when I look at Colvett and Bowyer and Blake and Erica and the people who work at Turning Point, and I say, you know, maybe they're not handling things properly and they don't know what to do what Charlie was doing. There's fears that Turning Point can't make it without Charlie. All of that is them trying to make Turning Point survive. Candace is advocating you abandon Turning Point USA. It's kind of remarkable to see, but let's just do the logic here. Simple question for all of you. Throw it in the chat. Who do you think cares more about Turning Point? The people trying to salvage and save it, or the woman telling everybody to pull their donations? Then you can ask yourself this. If Charlie were alive today, what do you think he'd be saying about all of this? Do you think he would say, I don't trust my wife and my best friends to run my organization? Or do you think he'd be saying, Candace should burn down Turning Point USA? I think the reality is a lot of people who follow Candace, they're masquerading much like the woke do. They don't really care about Turning Point. They want to watch it all burn down. They want to see Turning Point go belly up because they're nihilists. I'm not saying literally everybody who watches her, but in what reality does it make sense that Charlie would want Candace to burn Turning Point to the ground? It makes no sense.
Not at all.
And in what reality does this help us win a political victory moving into a midterm year? It doesn't. So I tell you this, my friends, I'll put it like this. I got asked about why we weren't invited to Turning Point USA. And they've since invited us back, whatever, but I said I'm not going. We've got prior commitments. I was asked by basically every mainstream news organization, oh, what's going on, the MAGA rift? They all want to know. Intention doesn't matter. Emotion doesn't matter. Only the outcome matters. And if Turning Point USA does not want Timcast IRL, disaffected urban liberals, on its stage prime time on Friday, and instead wants to book 4 conservatives wearing suits to talk about conservative values, it is their prerogative, but the outcome is the only thing that matters. They can hate me, they can love me, don't care. The question is, if this is the direction of Turning Point, what do they look like a year from now? Will it be a big tent organization that brings in liberals, moderates, conservatives, libertarians to form a coalition? Or will it be conservatives having an event to talk amongst each other? I say the same thing of Candace Owens. I don't care about what her intent is, her emotional state. I care about the outcome. If Candace Owens' actions and requests are to pull the donations from Turning Point and malign the people involved with it so that no one wants to be involved, the question then becomes, what will Turning Point be a year from now? And if Candace's actions say anything, and she succeeds, Turning Point will have been destroyed. Charlie's legacy gone. Everything he built erased and but a memory. That is what Candace is working towards because she hates Charlie Kirk. You know what I think it is? When I learned an important moral lesson when I was very young. My dad told me that some people like being upset. And I was confused by that as a young child. How can you enjoy being upset? It's the antithesis. It's not. Some people want to be angry. They want to cry. They want to be the victim. That's the world they want to live in. So while I can say Candace Owens was in love with Charlie Kirk, and this is based on me watching her show, the romance drama, the thing she mentioned about choosing his clothes and all the stuff and how she loved him and all of that stuff. She literally says it. I mean, she doesn't say she was in love, right? But you look at that, and then you look at her being rejected from the organization, which is true. You can read all about it. I guess the issue was that she was critical of Israel, and so they didn't want to have her there. She's offended. And then think about what a jilted lover can do. How often have you heard the story of the jilted lover who then murdered the woman who rejected him? It happens all the time. Usually it's a guy killing the woman. When I see what Candace is doing, I see rejection, jealousy, anger, and now that Charlie's gone, she wants revenge. I don't understand why else you dedicate 3 months to vagaries with the only purpose is stop supporting Turning Point USA. The excuse they want to give, and I love this, is that the only reason I'm criticizing Candace is because I'm trying to get back in the good graces of Turning Point USA. I'm the one who made the video saying I'm not going. They invited me back and I said no. I don't want to go. I'm not going to go. It is what it is. They can do whatever they want. I live in a totally different world, and I hate the political grifter class and everything that's going on with this stuff. But you know what? Why it's important? Some of you may be saying, what is the reason to talk about this? Why is this in the news again? This is 1.2 million views from Nick Fuentes. There are questions right now in every major media organization. What is going to happen in the midterms? And the people that once stood together are now all fighting with each other. And I got to tell you, I am black-pilled on politics right now. Trump talking about H-1Bs and Chinese visas. I'm like, okay, well, why am I sticking my neck out in this way? Why am I running the risk of the DOJ under the Biden administration threatening me and my family for people like Candace Owens? Why would I want to do that? Or the people who believe in what she says when she lies and burns down everything Charlie stood for. Why would I want to be involved in that? Bro, I'd much rather live in a van down by the river. There's a reason why this has never been the biggest podcast in the world, why I don't take the political route and pursue it the way most of these people do, why we don't have PR crafting messages or writing scripts for me. And there's a reason why there's been periods where we've burned tons of subscribers standing up for people that many people hated. Because I've always just said what I thought, and I'm not playing any stupid PR games. And I've always said, if that means people don't follow me, I appreciate you following me as long as you did. I'm going to go live in a van down by the river with a smile on my face. This is what the political space is turning into. We had a good run for the past 7 or 8 years where a coalition formed and people said, we agree on these things and we have to stop the woke psychopathy. Candace now represents psychopathic grifter content and cultism more than anything else we've seen on the left. And she is the biggest threat to the coalition on the right and our victories that we're trying to attain in 2026 and 2028. It's her. Democrats are no real threat, to be completely honest, because they don't stand for anything. Even among internal Democrat polling, they don't agree with each other. Internal Democrat polling now says Democrats are more interested in identity issues than actual economic issues. Okay, the Republicans have an opportunity to buck the historic trend and win the midterms when they already control the House, the Senate, and the executive branch. What's the biggest threat to our potential victory? Candace Owens. Even Nick Fuentes is calling her out. That's how crazy it's gotten. So I tell you this, my friends, if that's the direction we're really going to go in the next year or so, I don't see how we win if the right is composed of 2 different political worldviews. This means you're going to have the Democrat cultists, the MAGA right, and the Candace right, or whatever you want to call it, and Democrats will get the edge and win.
I mean, I think that the Democrats are going to win anyways, like regardless of this kind of stuff. I think that all signs are indicating that, unless there's some kind of midterms, yeah. Because I mean, all signs are indicating that, and I don't see any significant uptick in the economy on the horizon. There was a time where, there's a lot of people that say, it's bad that the Republicans have always been, graph go up, and I understand that argument, but if the graph isn't going up, if people don't feel like their money is able, can pay for groceries, they can't pay their bills, people are definitely going to vote for the other team. So
or stay home.
Or stay home. Well, I mean, they'll make sure that the people in power lose, whether that means they don't go out and support them, or they go out and they actually vote against them.
Gas prices have been down.
Gas prices are down, and that has an effect on the economy. But the prices overall, like, they haven't gone down. Nope. And the fact that Donald Trump was doing the same thing that Joe Biden was doing and saying, no, you're wrong about what you're experiencing at the grocery store. You're wrong about what you're experiencing when you're trying to pay your bills and stuff. That is bad news. So this kind of stuff, I think it's bad for the coalition. I think that it's bad for whatever you want to call the MAGA coalition. But I think at the end of the day, this stuff is still a distraction, and I think part of the reason why why this stuff is going on is because there isn't actual big tangible victories that people can actually talk about. So people are blackpilling. They're saying things aren't getting done, and then you end up with this kind of stuff getting oxygen.
Well, I mean, Candace has created a murder mystery drama that seeks to destroy Turning Point, which was pivotal in Trump's victory in 2024.
Yeah.
So this is the biggest threat that the right faces in actually stopping the communist rise on the left.
Saying that Candace herself is the biggest threat right now, I think is giving her way too much power. Because
she has 165,000 concurrent viewers.
Yeah, I know. I am absolutely agreeing with you. But what she's doing is she's creating a massive bubble, and it's going to pop. Because what she's doing is not sustainable. At some point, all the lies are going to just blow up, and everybody's going to find out that they have been wasting a bunch of time on fairy tales. And that's it. And right now it looks pretty bad. But I think now even Nick Fuentes is calling her out. I mean, I know that he's never been a big fan of her, but it's crucial that we're seeing this kind of divide right now because he's calling her out on something that's very valid. He's calling out the hypocrisy and that she has gaps in her logic. There is no logic. There is no consensus in anything that she's promoting anymore. And I think that's the biggest issue. And at some point, we've got to get back to reasonable discussions because this is a distraction. These are fairy tales, and fairy tales are very intriguing to a lot of people, but they will blow up at some point. Because as soon as you have to face the facts, right now we're all very comfortable, so we don't have to face the facts. So it's nice to get comfortable with a fairy tale, but this is not sustainable. And so I do have to say, have to give Nick Fuentes a lot of credit for how he handled the death of Charlie Kirk. Not just this, but I saw how he reacted, and he was genuinely grieving, even though he admitted that he didn't like Charlie Kirk while he was alive, and he never had a good relationship with him. They were basically enemies in a way, at least from a political perspective, but they were not enemies as people. And he respected Charlie for what he was doing, and he didn't fabricate any conspiracy theories around Turning Point USA. And I think that is crucial. That is way more important.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.